Amid these speculations, Robredo's former spokesperson, attorney Gutierrez, is pushing back. And he joins us this morning to clarify their camp's position. Magandang umaga po sa inyo, Attorney Barry.
Good morning, Gretchen. Happy to be here.
Parang natatawa kayo.
First of all, I'm not spokesperson anymore. So whatever I say is my take on it, not VP Leni's camp.
Okay, so just to clear that out, ano. Okay, medyo mabibigat po yung mga paratang na ito, ano, galing kay former Senator Trillanes. Isa-isahin po natin. Alam ko nasagot nyo na ito kagabi, pero para lang din to set the context of our conversation, no? So are you
Sure.
categorically denying the statements? First one, that Vice President Leni Robredo was not for surrendering the former president to the ICC, that they don't believe in the jurisdiction of the ICC.
Okay, first of all, let me say at the outset that I have the utmost respect for Senator Trillanes, and I'm sure this opinion he has a basis for it, and which unfortunately I'm not aware of. I don't know who he has talked to, which has led to him getting this information. Which has actually led to him stating this particular position. But that said, on the ICC, my basis is really the official stances taken by the Vice President, the public statements she made during the campaign, the official positions that she took in various interviews leading up to the 2022 election. And many times, from 2021 to 2022, after she had already declared her candidacy for president, she was very clear that she, if elected, she would cooperate with the ICC investigation. And more than that, she would push for the Philippines rejoining the ICC as a full member. More recently, this March, when the arrest of President Duterte took place and he was turned over to the ICC, she issued a statement saying that she believed this was an important first step in achieving justice for the many victims of the drug war. So, this runs very, very clearly in the direction of supporting an ICC rejoining and cooperation with the ICC, contrary to the contention of Senator Trillanes. So, I don't know who he has talked to. I'm sure he has a basis for this, but based on how I have related with the Vice President, what she has said publicly, and what official positions she has taken during the campaign and after, it would seem to be, contradictory.
Pero hindi ho ba totoo na magkaibigan talaga si Vice President Leni at saka si Vice President Sara Duterte? Kasi, I found an old article from Inquirer back in 2015. Actually, 2015. Our co-anchor found it.
Yeah.
Oo, si Regina. Yeah. Sabi ni Vice President Robredo, magkaibigan kami. Even before, when I come to Davao, I always find time to talk to her. She was mayor when my husband was DILG secretary, so we are friends. And Robredo had a quick lunch with the younger Duterte in an eatery outside the gate of the Davao Medical School Foundation, and her meeting with the younger Duterte was purely personal and had nothing to do with politics. So, tama po ba na they were really friends?
Yeah, this is December 2015 during the vice presidential campaign. They met in Davao. She issued that particular statement. But here's the thing. Since then, I am not aware of any personal meeting they have had until the one last year when Vice President Sara Duterte dropped by her house during the Peña Francia. What I can say is, in the entire 6 years that Vice President Leni served as VP, there was no meeting. They never talked. And more than that, VP Sara was constantly hitting us, hitting the Vice President, calling her fake VP, linking her with alleged fraud committed during the 2016 election, which fortunately these allegations were trashed by the Supreme Court when they dismissed the electoral protest against her. But my point is, if they were friends in 2015, then the mayor Sara Duterte then had a strange way of showing it in the following 6 years when VP Leni was vice president. So, I can't speak to how they are now. I only know that they met last year, and that when they met last year, that was the first time in more than 6 years that they had actually had a conversation. So, I'm not privy to the current state of their friendship, but what I can say is that if they were actually friends for those 6 years, certainly didn't show in their interactions with each other.
Well, Senator Trillanes was implying yesterday that VP Robredo is actually not politically naive. And sabi nga niya na parang, kumbaga, para alam naman niya yung mga galawan na dito sa politika. Even to say na yung meeting nila ni Vice President, she will feign ignorance for deniability, but yung ang naririnig niya from insiders is matagal ng planado yun na magmi-meet sila. Is it possible? What do you say? What would you have to say to that?
I mean, this is a subject matter that has been discussed and repeatedly talked about last year, and I've been very, very clear on this point. I talked to Vice President Leni. She made it very, very clear to me that the visit was sudden. She was informed only a few minutes before that that VP Sara was going to her house. There was no prior arrangement here that they would meet in advance. So, Senator Trillanes has been insisting on this point even last year. So, I'll respect his position, but insofar as the Vice President herself is concerned, VP Leni has been very, very clear that this was something that happened spur of the moment. It was not planned. It was not about politics. It was simply about being hospitable to a person who decided to visit her in the middle of the most major religious festival in Naga, the Peña Francia that year. And aside from VP Sara, there were other people, politicians, who also dropped by to visit her, and she entertained them all. So, I think it's pretty clear what this was.
Well, of course, this is being talked about in the context of a greater concern, which is the Vice President's silence on the impeachment. Bakit kaya hindi nagsasalita si Vice President tungkol dito?
Well, first of all, let's put it in context. It's not just the impeachment she hasn't been talking about. She hasn't really been talking about national issues or commenting on national issues for the better part of the last 3 years. And when the 2022 elections ended, she made it very, very clear that she would focus on, first, her Angat Buhay NGO, something that she actually spent so much time on in the last 3 years, and then eventually focusing on local concerns in Naga, which eventually led to her running for mayor and now being mayor of Naga City. So it's not something that we should just isolate and say, oh, hindi siya nagsasalita tungkol sa impeachment. Hindi siya nagsa-comment tungkol sa national issues, generally speaking, in the last 3 years. And I think that was a deliberate choice on her part. She wanted to focus on local issues. She wanted to give space for other leaders, principally Senator Risa Hontiveros, who she passed the baton to as leader of the opposition way back in 2022, to be the one to actually speak on these issues of national concern, while she focuses on Naga and her local issues, which she has consistently pursued over the last few years. So I don't think we should be surprised or that we should single out the impeachment in particular. She has simply not been commenting on national issues after the 2022 elections.
But as we know, in politics, there are no permanent friends, no permanent enemies. Is it possible to rekindle that friendship that the two vice presidents have had in 2015 for a potential alignment of interests in 2028? Posible ba yun?
I have not seen any indicator that that there is any movement towards that. I mean, as to their personal relationship, whether they will rekindle their relationship as friends, I obviously cannot answer that. That's something personal to VP Leni. But insofar as politics is concerned, she was very clear when there was a lot of speculation last year that the meeting was supposedly to discuss a possible alliance. She made it very clear that that was not the topic of the conversation in that meeting. It was purely personal. They did not talk about politics. They did not explore any future alliances or cooperation. And since then, that was a year ago, there has been no single indication that that was actually the direction, which actually, I suppose, supports the point that that VP Leni was making in the aftermath of that conversation and the speculations that came afterwards. So, as far as from my perspective, from where I'm sitting, I don't see that happening, and I've not seen any indicator that that's the direction that this will be going.
Yeah, well, it seems to be, Senator Trillanes also airing his frustration over what happened in 2022 na medyo hindi nakapaghanda ang opposition dahil nga doon sa late announcement ni VP Robredo. At sabi nga niya, hindi na pwedeng mangyari. We've learned our lessons. Hindi naman kailangan public declaration, pero internally, dapat may paghahanda na. So, in terms of that, is the Vice President looking at the possibility or at least having a certain open-mindedness towards a national position in 2028? Would you know of that?
Well, to begin with, I agree completely. I think everybody who was involved in the 2022 campaign, the key takeaway is we should prepare earlier. And I fully support Senator Trillanes when he says this is a conversation that should happen sooner than later. Now, as to the Vice President's intentions, up to now, she has not actually indicated any plans for 2028. She has just been elected Mayor of Naga. She just took office barely a month ago on June 30. So I think her entire focus is really on doing a good job as she can as Mayor of Naga. Yes. She made it very clear before. She gave 6 years of her life to the nation. Now she's going to focus on the needs and the concerns of her own kababayans in Naga. At least for these 3 years. But we don't need to wait for Vice President Leni in this particular case. I mean, there are so many other people in the opposition who are interested in actually starting to plan this early, and I think those conversations can happen if and when the Vice President decides that she wants to be involved. Then I'm sure that space and time can be found for her and her supporters. But in the meantime, this is her focus, and everybody else who wants to already start planning correctly so for 2028, I suppose can proceed.
Okay, thank you so much for taking the mantle for the Vice President to be her spokesperson, at least unofficially, and answering those questions. We will look out for that. Hopefully not a souring of a relationship between the former senator and the former Vice President. Maraming salamat sa iyo for taking our call and answering your questions. We have Attorney Gutierrez joining us this morning.
Anytime, Gretchen. Happy to be here.